It was once touted Africa's largest political party, with a structure and reach spanning across the entire country.
PDP, my party, is still the strongest party. There's no polling unit, because that is where you go and cast a vote. There's no polling unit in Nigeria that you don't have PDP members. No other party has that structure.
Then this happened. It didn't just stop there. Then this, and also this. It's exactly 10 years since the PDP lost power at the federal level, and since has struggled to retake that place. In fact, the party has even struggled to be a vibrant opposition. What really happened to the PDP, once Africa's largest political party, in a manner at some point no other party has ever replicated in the country's history? How did the party decline so much in such a manner? Why has it failed to make a rebound? In this special series, we look out for the sentiments, the factors, the ambitions, the players, and the contradictions that led to the collapse of one's most powerful political party in the entire black world. It's 1999, and the country is gearing up for an election that will see a return to civilian rule. The last time the nation had a civil rule was 1983. And the attempts few years earlier in 1993 nearly saw the country collapse. The popular candidate of the SDP in the person of Moshood Olawale Abiola had won that election, but his mandate was taken from him by the cancellation of that election.
Full faith on the part of government, all matters relating to the election should have gone to the tribunal set up by law for such cases, and should only have been initiated by persons or bodies that had genuine interest in the election. Instead, we are being told that the judiciary behaved so badly that I, Moshood Kashimawo Olawale Abiola, should be penalized for his conduct.
This led to his incarceration and ultimate demise. These events confirmed in the minds of many Nigerians, especially in the south, that power was basically restricted to the north, and as a result, strong resentment pervaded southern Nigeria. To curb this trend, with the return to civil rule imminent, following the demise of the erstwhile Nigeria's dictator Sani Abacha, the north sought a way to atone for the debacle of the June 12th. So it was informally agreed upon by northern power brokers to move power to the south in a rotational arrangement that would see the two regions share power amongst themselves, but more especially with emphasis to the southwest, the region of the political matter Abiola. Within this milieu emerged a group of stakeholders from a group known then as the G34, which included figures like Alex Ekwueme, Alhaji Abubakar Remi, Professor Jerry Gana, and others, to form the People's Democratic Party. Informed by the aforementioned sentiment to appease the South, at the median primary elections in Jos, chose the former head of state, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, to emerge as its flag bearer with Atiku as his running mate. Due to the conventional and the mainstream image of the party, it won a decisive victory in the 1999 election. And by May 29 of that same year, the party was sworn into power. It controlled the presidency, the National Assembly, and governed 21 different states across the country. By 2003, it had multiplied its gains. And by 2007, it was at the zenith of its power, controlling 28 to 29 of the states in the country and an overwhelming majority in the National Assembly. It seemed at some point that Nigeria was well on its way to becoming a one-party state under the PDP. Following the rotation of power arrangement, a presidential ticket was given to a northerner, Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, with his vice in the person of Goodluck Jonathan. In the 2011 then they went on to win the election and subsequently sworn in on 29th May 2007. It seemed that this arrangement, once respected and maintained, would ensure the party's rule for at least the next 60 years. Little did anyone know that fate had its own chaos, and chaos it was for the PDP. The signs of this gloom began to emerge with the abrupt end to Yar'Adua's administration in 2010, following his death as a result of a failing health. His vice, Goodluck Jonathan, had to finish the remainder of his tenure. However, the decision by Goodluck Jonathan to run a fresh tenure in 2011 marked the beginning of crisis in the party that shifted the very foundations. However, following the interventions of cheaters like Obasanjo, an informal agreement was allegedly reached in closed doors. Jonathan was allowed to run for a second tenure to conclude his administration's program, after which he would then return power to the north. As a result, the party still pulled out a victory in the 2011's general election and still retained much of its dominance. But by 2012 to 2014, a series of events ruptured that not only saw the party's popularity collapse, its members defect, but the ultimate collapse of the party in the 2015 polls. But this development did not come as a surprise to those who were stakeholders in the nation's political arrangements. The cracks and the signs were there already, just that nobody took interest to resolve them. However, the party continued to fail to learn its lessons and has continued to repeat the same mistakes which resulted in losing consecutive elections in 2019 and in the 2023 polls, and have in fact has created one of the most lackadaisical opposition party in the country's history. The question is why? What were the interplays of factors that has not only brought the party to this state, but has kept it like that? You see, Nigeria's politics isn't ideologically based. There is nothing like the left or the right in the country's political space. The ideology here is money, power, and ethnic or regional affiliations. Hence, you have political parties with no real direction but power sharing, sectionalism, and something more like a gang. But this time, in offices and not on the streets. In fact, this is the bane of political parties in the country, not just the PDP. And this meant that nobody in the party was actually a member of the party nor had any ideal allegiance to the party, because the party itself had no identity. And where there is no ideological identity in a party, money, power, and interest becomes the driving force, and equally the catalyst for its destructions. This gives birth to the second issue: corruption. The PDP was notorious for its corruption scandals since its emergence as a ruling party in Nigeria. A notoriety that only grew worse as the years went by, ranging from various corruption allegations, mismanagement of public funds, electoral malpractices, and everything wrong with the country today. To put it quite simple, the PDP failed to invest in Nigeria, and as such the people were disillusioned, and hence the party began to be seen as the problem. Like, we can go on a 10-episode series explaining how bad corruption in the PDP was. It was really that bad. Both its parties, office holders and stakeholders abused privilege it was given. The scandal was rife, and so it had to go. Even to date, the party has failed to exonerate itself from the stains that it has come to be known for. It has refused to take a new leaf and has still retained that perception of it being part of the old order. And there is internal ramblings in the party. You see, Jonathan's decisions to run for a second term was seen as a betrayal, especially by those in the north. Starting from his supposed kinsman, the then governor of Rivers State and chairman of the Nigeria's Governors Forum, Rotimi Amechi, an episode we will be dedicating a separate video for. Then there is the debacle of Prince Olagoso Olinyola, who was suspended by the party despite the court's adjournment to reinstate him subsequently. In fact, it set in the altercation that saw the party lose its popularity in the southwest. Then the open criticism by the former president Obasanjo on Jonathan and his denouncing of his party membership. With this came a trend of massive exodus from the party. Literally every major power broker distanced themselves from the PDP, with 7 governors of the party leaving and about 41 lawmakers defecting from the party by the end of 2014. And as a result, the stage was already set for a defeat in 2015. Thirdly, the failure of governance. At the time the party came into power, there were high hopes that the party would kickstart the transformation of the country. But as the years went by, what started as a wind of change began to turn into a nightmare. From failure in infrastructure to gross misconduct in governance. The party set the trail for the pattern of disregard for the country's democratic institutions, from the various party sagas to various manipulations of the whole instruments of the state, from the judiciary to various agencies and independent bodies of state. These weakened institutions meant that the viability of the state architecture would be dependent on who was in power at the moment. Hence, governance was now turned into party politics. This failure of governance could no better manifest itself than during the Goodluck Jonathan's administration, as the Boko Haram insurgency ran riot and at some point had seized a sizable portions of the nation's territory. Meanwhile, in the midst of all this, corruption was still rife in Jonathan's caucus, which grossly affected the performance of the ill-equipped Nigerian army to curb this menace. Fourthly, a strong opposition. By 2014, many aggrieved members of the party had not only walked away from the party, but had in fact teamed up with the newly formed All Progressives Congress. And overnight, the APC swelled in size. So much was this gang up against Jonathan that it was clear that he was isolated. From statesmen like Obasanjo to Babangida to Abubakar, the storm was brief and the PDP had no answer for it. And not only that, the APC became attack dogs that never missed the opportunity to drag the PDP with any slightest chance. This active opposition made that another viable alternative had been created for the electorate. Even after the election in 2015, it seemed like the APC had learned from PDP's mistakes in the past and has always ensured to sort out any of its crises before any polls. And not only just that, it has continued to extend its reach into the PDP by always ensuring that it takes advantage of crises in the party, as we saw with the Wike fiasco, who till date the party has failed to court order, nor in fact settled issues with him. Then there is the PDP's governance forum, which at the moment is actually more stronger than the National Working Committee of the party, who all seem to have a leaning towards the APC interests. It's to say that the APC has its Trojan horse in the party won't be far from the truth. Then there is ambition. Ambition, they say, betrays all arrangements. You see, the party had allowed itself to be controlled not by its objectives, but by the ambitions of certain few powerful figures, who most of the time try to bend the party's principle to their whims. This was the nail in the coffin as far as the party's decision to run for a second term, despite the arrangement of the party had no better explanation but a clear manifestation of ambition. And this is not only manifest in Jonathan, but throughout the major players in the party. A lot of Jonathan's feud with Amechi had a lot to do not just with Jonathan's ambition, but also Amechi's own power scheme. The then governor of Rivers State was busy setting himself up not just to contest for the party primaries in the speculated ticket with Sule Olamide, the governor of Jigawa State, but also to block the president from the party's ticket. Then fast forward to the party primaries for the 2023 election, and it sees that the party has not learned its lessons when it gave its tickets to Atiku Abubakar, even when it was agreed to have a southern candidate. Wounded and betrayed Wike started his fiasco and saw him alongside with the so-called G5 government sabotage the party's election campaign. Even today, the body language of many of the party stakeholders doesn't look like changing anytime soon. The bottom line is that the PDP was built like most political parties in the country on faulty foundation, which has placed it to where it is today. The party has been reduced to an inconsequential operation, and attempts to salvage it has always met a good luck. So tell me what you think. You think the PDP still has a chance in Nigeria's politics, or is it on its path to oblivion? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and to turn on your notification bells to keep getting great content like this. Until the next video, stay in the loop.